Throughout Cybertronian history, combiners aren't an uncommon sight. From natural combiners to artificial ones, anywhere you look at is bound to have at least one prominent combiner. What's less well known is the poor bots who were experimented on to create these artificial combiners. Welcome back to Showcase, the show where I walk you through the lore, writing process, and animation models I use in my Transformers AU Siege World. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at RID15 Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Strongarm, Grimlock, Drift, Jetstorm, and Slipstream. But before we get started, big thanks to Firelord2047 for requesting this video. If you have any requests, leave them down in the comments and we'll try and get to all of them. In the past, we've looked at a lot of combiners. Many of them were artificial, meaning they were made through science rather than being forged. Unlike later combiners, whose bodies were made with the express purpose of combining, Bumblebee and his group were retrofitted against their will to combine. But before we get to their combined form, we need to look at their pasts. First, Bumblebee and Strongarm. Bumblebee was a veteran of the First Great War. He served as a warrior in the Autobots for most of the war, and when the war ended, like most bots, he retired from the military. He took up position as a police bot, and throughout the time between the First and Second Great War, he worked his way through the ranks till he became a training officer at the Autobot Police Academy. After the First Great War ended, a new class of bot was created, the Constructed Cold. While most bots thought these new bots were lower, not as valuable as forged bots, Bumblebee was one of the few bots who saw no difference between Constructed Cold and forged. And thanks to his connections in the Autobot government, he was able to get Constructed Cold bots allowed in the police force. This is where he met Strongarm. She was Constructed Cold and one of the first to join the academy. Bumblebee was assigned to train her, and she quickly became one of the most promising recruits in the whole academy. During the Autobot Civil War, a short-lived conflict where Constructed Cold bots, under the tutelage of the Decepticons, started a short-lived uprising, Strongarm and Bumblebee were deployed to Kaon to quell a growing rebellion. This is where they would meet Sideswipe. Sideswipe was a Constructed Cold bot and was a member of the Constructed Cold Revolutionaries. When the protests turned violent, he tried to leave, but the police force began closing in to quell the protest-turned riot. Sideswipe was cornered by some of the more violent officers, but Bumblebee found them before Sideswipe could be arrested. Bumblebee had seen Sideswipe throughout the protest, and saw that he hadn't committed any crimes. He took Sideswipe back to the academy and planned to get him enrolled, but before he could, the Second Great War began. Bumblebee joined back up with the Autobot military, and Sideswipe and Strongarm were quick to follow him. Bumblebee was assigned his own unit. Other than Sideswipe and Strongarm, Grimlock, Drift, and his deployers Jetstorm and Slipstream were assigned to the unit. Grimlock was a beast former, rare on Cybertron at this time. He had previously worked in demolition till joining up with the Autobot military. Drift, similar to Bumblebee, was a veteran of the First Great War. He was a member of a special unit of bots paired with deployers, small bots from a Cybertronian colony who could turn into weapons and be launched at the enemies. Drift's deployers, Jetstorm and Slipstream, turned into chainsaws and can be used as arm-mounted weapons or launched at enemies. Early in the war, their unit was sent to flank a Decepticon army, but they were spotted and captured. They were sent to a Decepticon POW camp and selected as test subjects in one of Shockwave's combiner experiments. The group was one of the first successful experiments. Previous subjects had either died or had their minds left so broken that they could hardly function. But Bumblebee's unit's combiner was stable. The combiner, known as Ultrabee, was the proof Shockwave needed to expand his experiments. But the combiner was more successful than he realized, and Ultrabee broke free from their restraints and escaped the base. Ultrabee would make their way back to the Autobots and help kickstart their own combiner program before being sent back into active duty. But while on a mission to rescue Autobots that were pinned down by a large group of cons, Ultrabee would be shot by an experimental railgun tested by the Decepticons. This shot would kill Bumblebee and Drift, and put Grimlock in a coma. Sideswipe and Strongarm were out of action till after the war. Grimlock would die years later, finally succumbing to his injuries. He never woke up from his coma. Strongarm went on to take over the Autobot Police Academy, before growing to join the Autobot High Council. She was the first Constructed Cold bot to be elected to the council. When she died, she would be buried in an Autobot mausoleum with some of their greatest leaders. Sideswipe stuck with the Autobot military, rising through the ranks. Long after the war, the Autobot Combiner program would find success, and Sideswipe would work with new combiners, helping them control their new combined form. He would later die in a Decepticon attack on the Combiner training facility. Drift's deployers would leave Cybertron after the war, trying to make their way back to the colony they had originated from. But since the Spade Bridges were destroyed in the First Great War, the exact location of the colony was unknown. It's unknown if they ever found their colony. For the ranking process, I didn't really want to stray far from their original personalities. Other than changing Grimlock so he's not a Decepticon, they're all pretty similar to how they were in RID. I'm not the biggest fan of RID, but I do like Bumblebee and his team's personalities. For designs, they all stick very close to the RID version. Bumblebee and Sideswipe share a base. Strongarm was weirdly recolored from my G1 Brawn with a new head. Drift was recolored from my IDW Drift along with a new head. Slipstream and Jetstorm were recolored from each other, but other than that, they're original. And Grimlock was heavily retooled from my G1 Grimlock. Ultrabee is a fully separate model and has no recolors yet. For weapons, Jetstorm and Slipstream can act as chainsaws, Sideswipe has a set of blades on each arm, and Ultrabee has his drift sword. Finally, their transformations. First, Bumblebee. Lay him flat, head in, arms in, hood out, bring the doors in, legs up, wheels down, and we have Bumblebee in his car mode. Next, Sideswipe. Lay him flat, head in, arms in, hood out, legs up, wheels down, and we have Sideswipe in his car mode. Next, Strongarm. Lay her flat, head in, arms in, hood out, legs up, bring the roof back, wheels down, and we have Strongarm in our police car mode. Next, Grimlock. Lay him flat, head in, arms into place, dino head out, legs into place, bring the feet down, bring the tail out, and we have Grimlock in his dino mode. Next, Drift. Lay him flat, head in, arms in, shoulder pads out, legs up, feet down to form the hood, roof out. Finally, bring the wheels down and we have Drift in his car mode. Finally, Jetstorm and Slipstream share an alt mode, so we'll just be looking at Jetstorm. Lay him flat, head in, arms into place, legs up, and we have Slipstream in his Gensaw mode. Just like all my combiners, Ultrabee is a separate model. Grimlock forms the legs, Bumblebee forms the torso, Sideswipe and Strongarm each form an arm, and Drift forms a sword. And that's Ultrabee. These guys were some pretty early models. I made them back in early 2025, and overall I'm happy with them, although when I make an Arctic recolor of Drift, I may make him from a new model. Right now I have a few plans for spotlights on these guys, but they're still really early in development, so we won't see anything for a while. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. On Sunday I have another rant video. I'm going to be talking about how the minicons in modern storytelling makes no sense. On Wednesday I'm hoping to have another spotlight ready, but if it's not ready on time we're going to have another writer's room. And next Friday we're going to be taking a look at Energy on Optimus Prime. That's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next video.